Serious, what mysteries from the early days of the internet are still unsolved to this day? There was that guy in the middle 90s who designed his girlfriend using software. He ended up with something like a mugshot, then posted it, hoping to find her in real life. He swore he was in love with her, this image he had created. He became an immediate laughingstock. I can't locate any links, but I remember one person referring to the girl as chiclet teeth. Anyway, I wonder if the guy ever found her. Just how many 6 offenders did I talk to as a 13/FNC in all those AOL chat rooms? Or was I really just talking to other idiot teenagers? That and what happened to rotten.com. Lake City Quite Pills. Old Reddit user who used to post here in the really old days, before subreddits even I think, died. Their friend took over their Reddit account for a bit and let Reddit know. Eventually people noticed the user was linked to some site. I think it was porn or something, which in turn contained message logs. These message logs were all pretty cryptic. The logs eventually mentioned holding a service for the dude who died but gave weird requirements like not giving your real name to hotel staff, not being tailed, only American currency and to remain low profile. Stuff like that. People are a bit suspect of this, and during the same night this party is meant to be happening some mobster is killed close to the venue of it by hitmen. Website after a while was taken down and all that remains are screenshots of the original logs. Barely Sociable has a vid about the topic on YouTube which will do it far more justice than I have here, but it is certainly the oldest thing I know of. Wouldn't say early internet but interesting nonetheless. There was a multitude of killers who have posted on 4chan. One who asked the question, what does B keep in the freezer? They then proceeded to post pictures of body parts with timestamps to prove it authentication. Another one was, again 4chan, a guessing name of a missing person and provided a freebie which when guessed correctly lead to the coordinates of where the body was buried. Is the Heaven's Gate website still up and running? The guy who went caving. He ends his blog with I'll let you know what I find, and then it just ends. Google Ted's caving and it's the first result. I remember that extremely creepy video of a young guy with longish hair and a very odd way of speaking. I think it was a combination of accent and speech impediment, talking about grave robbing and how to prep the remains for sale. I remember specifically him going into great detail into how to properly clean out the skulls so they wouldn't rattle when you shook them. Nobody ever came up with an identity, location, or even a solid answer for who was buying the human remains or why. Anyway, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it for a long time. Because last year a man where I live was arrested for doing the exact same thing. He was digging up graves, taking the remains, and methodically cleaning them for sale. Sale to who? For what reason? It literally drives me insane. Edit. Grave robbing for morons. Double edit. Extremely creepy rip from the original VHS. I can only think of Numa guy and wonder what the legend is doing now. Death of Philip Taylor Cramer, the bass guitarist for Iron Butterfly who became a computer engineer. He was said to have been working on data compression techniques and may have been assassinated, but his death was ruled a suicide. The whole story and family are weird. It made the rounds as a favorite early internet conspiracy and then just disappeared. 1-800-GOLF tip 1990 to 2000 and man would count up to 10 and would have a pause somewhere between 5 and 10 and then a jump scare of a screaming or a strange siren noise. Don't call it now, it leads to an erotic hotline. The identity of the main creator of Bitcoin. Many speculations but still no solid proof of who they are exactly. Just that their Bitcoin wallet remains untouched and there's speculation for that too, like they're waiting to dump it when the time's right or has simply lost the code to the wallet. Still interesting altogether. A young girl went missing or was killed in a certain area and as time passes, on YouTube an old white guy titled the anniversary of that girl's disappearance death with the location stares into the camera and is just laughing menacing for quite a while before the video ends with him smiling. What about the guy that tried to test his new gas mask and made chlorine gas, and it was absorbed into his skin, and he stopped posting updates? Who is Satoshi Nakamoto, inventor of Bitcoin? He disappeared shortly after its release and has never been heard of again. He still has $10 billion worth that are just sitting there untouched. Back in 1993, there was a page that had the full process for creating ecstasy. Must have been written by a scientist, because it was highly detailed. Tourette's guy. It's been proven that it was a fake, but as far as I know nothing is known about the actors or the filming of it. It's all very vague. Still makes me laugh though. Our Fataville farming game. Essentially, a user on Reddit posted about a farming simulation game. However, there's a twist where you kill your wife and have to cover it up. No one is able to find it, and some say the OP is misremembering details of the game. Who was the arsehole that stood up in the middle of the bootleg copy I downloaded of Alien vs Predator? I still have that old 2-part bootleg I downloaded over the course of 4 days on my parents' dial-up internet. It was a perfect, low quality bootleg except for one arsehole who stood up in the middle of a good fight scene. Who gets up right as the fight scene is picking up? Who was Serdarajic? TLDR. It was a bot that would search the Usenet feed for mentions of Turkey, and then post diatribes denying the Armenian genocide. Who actually ran the thing was never known. Not sure if it's real or not, but I remember watching a video of a man exploring the catacombs and out of nowhere he just drops the camera and begins to run. The mystery of Bruno Porosnik. This guy was really weird and he had a YouTube channel. He made videos like objects that I've shoved up my hair. And Margaret Thatcher is dead. One day all of a sudden his channel and all its content disappeared and no one knows what really happened to this day. How about John Titor, the time traveler? Many theories circulated, but I'm not sure I ever saw a definitive explanation. One I remember is something along the lines of "cut off my feet.com. I don't think it's still up, but the gist of it was that a dude's feet were paralyzed and he wanted to cut them off so he could get prosthetics. I don't remember much. There are probably better explanations out there. Why Time Cube? I mean, as in what inspired the guy to write it to begin with? That 4chan thread about the guy who injected the blow liquid in a syringe into himself. I can't find the thread, but I do remember seeing it in a top 15 video I like. It might have gotten solved since then, but IDK. All those forward this email or undo bad luck chain letters stoked and added up to 2020. The most mysterious song on the internet. I only know about this mystery because of a series of videos made by Wang. If you don't know what the mystery is about, it's about a song that is visible to the public, but no one knows who made the song. No one even knows the title of the song. This search started in 2007, but wasn't big until 2019 I think. What's the deal with blank room soup? I've watched videos talking about details in it but nothing really explains it. There was this one billboard advertising this number, I think it was the area code, top, golf, and I was a voice that said weird things in a pattern. People went over the words again and again. He always took a pause and took a breath and the same words every time, but you never heard a pause. If you look you could probably find a website, even a subreddit. It was a weird story. I remember there was a video of like a tap dancing bunny girl. It was off-putting BC, it seemed like it was filmed with a VHS and one of her legs was bigger than the other I think. If I remember correctly, the last few seconds of the video she slowly walks toward the camera and the music stops. It haunted my existence. I have no idea where I saw it as a kid, or why. I probably wouldn't even want to watch it now due to how it traumatized me as a kid. What happened to Chip Chan? She was a South Korean girl that was trapped on her apartment and streamed 24/7. Most of the time she was asleep. She said she was kidnapped by a corrupt police officer that put a tracking chip on her toe. That's why her name is Chip Chan. Last time I checked she was pretty ill and looked pretty bad. If someone could tell me what happened. Is she okay? Was all of that an experiment? I somehow stumbled onto a very disturbing website called something like howtobeserialkiller.com. That's not exactly the right URL, but it's close. I probably found it through stilleproject.com. It was full of information that seemed like it might actually really help someone to get away with killing strangers. For instance, using a heavy-duty zip tie to suffocate them so your hands would be free to hold them down, or rolling dice to decide what kind of person to kill next so there wouldn't be an obvious pattern. I tried to show a friend what I had found a couple weeks later and the site had been removed with a simple message remaining. How to be a serial killer has been removed. If you're really interested in killing someone, why don't you start with yourself? I'd like to know what the hell inspired someone to create such a site and why did they decide to remove it. Hell.com. It was really weird and hard to navigate. I still think about it sometimes and I never really understood the whole point of it. Maybe it was some art project or something. OP. If you're interested in this stuff, I highly recommend the podcast Red Web. They dive into internet mysteries, except for one episode where they looked at DB Cooper, but it's still a fun listen. If you check it out, I hope you like it. Which one of those Scottish girls did the art? They're so vague and nondescript it's hard to begin giving details. But there are a handful of creepy WTF websites that seem to serve no obvious purpose. People were always trying to decipher a pattern in them, but most people think they're just deliberately confusing. In the early days of the internet there was a site which purported to show a massive submarine base being built in the middle of the Amazon. It was documented through a series of photos developed from a camera that had been found in the jungle. The theory was that the camera had been thrown from an airplane that had flown over the base just prior to being shot down. This is not a drugs submarine base, but rather something else entirely. It was in the middle of the Brazilian Amazon, far from any body of water, and the submarine itself was giant. The conjecture was that the elite of the world knew something about coming cataclysmic floods that would envelope the planet and so had built themselves an escape submarine, an ark, out there in the sticks. I saw this site in the very early days of the web. It was one of the few sites to visit with the new web browsers of the time. But try as I might, I simply cannot find any trace of this site anymore. It has vanished and even the Internet Archive has no reference to it. Was pretty interesting, that's for sure. The sub looked huge and the pictures of it quite legitimate. Who started the game? And what was its purpose? Who wrote the infamous Harry Potter fanfiction My Immortal? Seriously, no one knows. A lot of people have come forward with it but it's never been confirmed. Who began the Rickroll trend? Max Headroom. On the 22nd of November, 1987, two TV stations in Chicago had their broadcast signals hijacked by someone wearing a Max Headroom mask. Not necessarily from the early internet, but the 4chan serial killer was never caught. For those of you unaware, the 4chan serial killer was a guy on 4chan who was posting pictures of dead bodies and claiming he killed them. Lots of people speculated that these were actually crime scene photos, but authorities confirmed that because there were no markers, the photos had to be taken by the murderer. One of the victims was actually recognized by internet detectives, and because of this the 4chan serial killer said he would be back to finish his game, but he hasn't been seen since. It's popular belief that he was scared off from all the attention that the case was starting to get, plus the FBI was starting to get involved. The Pain Olympics. Just why? IDK if anyone even saw this site back in the day, but there was a conspiracy blog website completely dedicated to the idea that Las Vegas was going to be hit by terrorists. Must have been born from post 9/11 paranoia. It was called either Savvegas or Savalasvegas.com. Never went anywhere, but it was a weird little spot of the early net. I remember a Reddit post where a dad deleted his son Minecraft World. I haven't seen a response back from the dad on how the kid is, because in the post it said his son was skipping meals and was down all day. I hope the kid is okay, and if you see another post from the dad, let me know. Edit. Didn't think this would get popular TWT. IDK how early internet it is. But the woman who thought the government or someone was listening to her and spying on her in South Korea, I think. That they were trying to control her, I think too. And webcams were installed and you could watch her sleeping or on her computer. And her door would be barricaded most of the time, and there were handwritten signs all over the place. I lost the bookmark to the link for the webcams years ago. But I still think and wonder if she is okay and if the cams are still running. There used to be a huge conspiracy theory that Walt Disney's head was frozen in ice. Whenever you searched the keywords Disney Frozen, theories would show up. By coincidence, Disney makes the movie Frozen and you cannot search up those keywords anymore without being blocked by the movie. This channel 12 videos, all of them featuring what's assumed to be a dead body in a bag named Daisy. Literally gives off the worst feeling ever. There was a blogger named Rants in the early 2000s who was rumored to be a celebrity since his posts contained a lot of detail about other celebs. At the time I think some people thought it was George Clooney, but whoever it was abruptly stopped posting. Not early internet, but was there ever a conclusion to Hi Walter, I got a new girlfriend today? The dude who found a Nazi underground bunker in his garden kept posting updates on how he was digging towards it and finding odd stuff, until the day before he was due to enter it. Nothing after that if I remember correctly. My Immortalakka, the worst fan fiction of all time. Who wrote it? Were they trolling? Either way, it is a literary masterpiece. There was a woman that talked about depression on YouTube. One day she stopped and her last video she said that maybe she'd open another account where she would be talking about other stuff. She was moving on from her depression talks, but she didn't give a clue as to what it was going to be or what her new channel name would be. I always assumed she had taken the decision to end her life and her last video was a way to make her followers believe she wasn't, just to avoid motivating people to follow her steps. Her channel was called Budget26 or something. I knew about her cause a local newspaper did an article about her channel. There was a YouTube video that was around years and years ago during the start of YouTube about a random check at a school. One kid had 9 or 10 guns stuffed down the back of his pants. It had narration over it. I think it had something to do with Columbine, but the title of the video evades my memory. Edit. I found it. On the Crazy Bone or Bone Thugs N Harmony song Smockin' Buddha there is a homemade video that was floating around LimeWire, Napster and Kazaa since around 2000. It shows various people chilling and smoking blunts and joints, having a good time and doing smoke tricks. At the first 5 seconds of the video there is a guy in a creepy white mask with a white hoodie on and some weird silver helmet thing. He is dangling this big silver chain. I'm trying to figure out who he is and who the people smoking in the video are. Please comment if you know of this or have any info on it, thanks. Edit. I found a comment on YouTube that they were a crew from Florida called the Superfly Crew. There is a documentary on YouTube with all the people from the video. Does Tom still have millions of friends? Seriously, TF happened to Ricardo Milos? In 2004, Lisa Frank stickers were selling on eBay for hundreds of dollars each. Where did xkcd hat guy go? Find Satoshi. The guy had a postcard of his face with the words "Find me" and nobody ever did. A recent one, but I would like to share it anyways. The most mysterious song on the internet. On a German radio station in the 1980s, a song was played during a routine broadcast. It was known to play songs from obscure local bands, so at the time, this song was nothing new. In 2007, a clip of the song was posted to a Canadian fan site dedicated to finding songs by a woman under an alias. Nobody seemed to recognize the song. No one came forward to claim it, nor did anyone recognize the voice. In fact, since the records were in Germany, no one knew who made it. In early 2019, Brazilian teen Gabriel da Silva Vieira began searching for more information. In July of 2019, YouTuber Justin Wang released a video on the subject. Both guys sparked a wildfire of internet detectives to search for more. Reddit and Discord worked in tandem and found a few leads, but the long communication process leaves the case open today, and many unanswered questions. We still don't know what the truth contest was. I've been going around asking myself, but I can't find anything on it. They used to spam YouTube and other places about it. Site would give you a virus, and they had some sort of Dianetics type thing on their site. Nobody knows who they were, or where they went. All we know is the name. Truth contest. There was the footage of the man lost in the Paris catacombs that always freaked me out. Why would he drop his only light source? He was running for his life. What a sad way to die. Who was Cracky-chan and where is she now? I'm late to the party, and I'm sure this will get buried, but I'm going to say that pterodactyl porno, or whatever it's called, supposedly it just appeared online in the late 90s early 2000s, having possibly been produced much earlier. The weird thing is, a fake. The producer production company has never been identified, and it was produced in an era when the ability to produce and distribute videos was not necessarily available to the masses as it is today. It's been held up as a prime example of Rule 34 of the internet. If you can imagine a concept, there's porn about it. The dining room where there is nothing. A whack-ass YouTube video that seemingly means nothing but nonsense. The most mysterious song on the internet. People are still trying to find out the makers. I believe there is even a subreddit all about it as well. Song, a guy who covers the story on YouTube. Just gonna save this thread for the morning. Did Hugh Hefner really have a secret collection of 6 videos of celebrities from his parties which his sons and lawyers gave back to them after Hugh died? And did they really find blueprints for tunnels to be built to James Kiana, Beatty's, and Nicholson's house? Because that is some crazy sex addiction stuff when thinking of building tunnels. Whether lipstick on a cat's butthole would leave a mark on the counter. Followed that thread on fuck.com for ages with no resolution. Do we know the origins of that weird green llama gif thing? There was a really old YouTube video tutorial of this American hiker explaining how to use a compass while on top of some mountain. At the end of the video he's like, okay, time to hike back down, and he says, now that you guys know how to use one, don't get lost out there. And you seen him walk downhill and the video cuts. Someone commented, probably jokingly, that after that video he was never seen again. Well, it turns out that was the last video he made and he actually was never seen again. I have no idea whether he uploaded it live or went back home, uploaded it and then went missing. But the irony is that he went missing after giving a tutorial on how to use a compass and not get lost. What about that guy that's seen sprinting out of an airport with none of his luggage then is never seen again? I like it was a bloke in his 20s in Germany or Britain. What happened to the PPP power book guy? How did Stronghood type with those gloves on his hands? Cicada 3301 is an interesting one. It is an organization that posts puzzles on 4chan and Reddit, I think, to recruit code breakers. That one girl who was live streaming, I think somewhere in Brazil, and she barricaded the door to this unknown basement type place and wrote help me on slabs of cardboard as someone was trying to bash through the door. When almost all the things that were blocking the door were knocked out of the way, the video cut off. There was this story of someone on Reddit who accidentally killed this special needs kid when she was a child. They were with some friends bike riding I think, and they accidentally watched as this kid fell off the mountain and died. They told nobody but they posted about it on Reddit somewhere. Then someone replied with a question asking about the name of the kid who died as it seemed really similar to another story. Then out of nowhere Op deletes his whole ass account and everything with it after the reply. I forgot everything about the kid and who the person who responded thought he was. What happened to Sierra's Leisure Suite Larry 4? Captain Cutchy's Key Lime Pie. Someone has been leaving weird comments in various corners of the internet for years and years, all extolling the excellence of the key lime pie from a particular restaurant in North Carolina. However, the restaurant had been closed for several years prior to these comments appearing, and the comments themselves are often rambling and occasionally weirdly sexual in nature. There was even a our key lime pie mystery, but it's gone private. Here's a recent post about it from RRBI.